The day is won. The Imperial Legion has lost in the land of Skyrim, and General Tullius, along with his lieutenant, Legate Ricca, lie dead in the City of Solitude. Ulfric Stormcloak and Galmar Stonefist have claimed victory for the rebellion, and Skyrim is free from Imperial occupation. But where do we go from here? Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we will be laying out a storyline that could happen should Ulfric and the Stormcloaks win against the Empire in Skyrim. In other videos I've made in the past, I've delved into making what I call alternate timeline videos, where I take an event in a story, alter its course, and see how the rest of the story would play out. In this case, since this event is optional and is player determined, we will actually further build on the storyline and see where it would lead to. Of course, I'm coming up with the story, so it is by no means canon, but it would be interesting to see what direction it could go. Of course, if you have ideas what could happen after the Stormcloaks win, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and also on the Discord if you want to share your story directly to me and hang out on the server. I have 2 screenshots here of people who have shared their ideas, so if you want to come along as well, then feel free to do so. Link will be in the description below. I will do one for the Imperials winning as well, among other storylines, as long as you guys enjoy and like this video. That would be the best way for me to see that you've enjoyed this video along with my other content. Subscribing also helps, figure I'd throw that in there. Other than that, let's begin. Ulfric has claimed victory, but he knows that despite the win for his Stormcloaks, there is still a lot of work to do. So he starts the liberation of Skyrim by instilling Jarls that are either his allies or supporters of the cause in each of the major strongholds in Skyrim. He also continues to work on having Skyrim be an independent province away from the influence of the Empire, but unfortunately this second task won't be easy, and Ulfric will come to realize this very soon. It is one cold but relatively nice morning in the province of Skyrim. The citizens of each city are doing whatever it is they do, and the last Dragonborn is probably in some giant camp taking out a mammoth for its tusk to give to a merchant in Whiterun. A messenger runs to Windhelm, constantly looking behind his back as if he is being followed, all the way to the Jarl to warn him, "My Jarl, sightings of Thalmor have been reported in the cities of Riften, Falkreath, and Markarth. Their activities are aggressive, killing patrols on the roads." "This is concerning news indeed. Get some rest, shield brother. Galma, send messengers to the Jarls at each of the strongholds and tell them to ready their defenses, and send a messenger to the Dragonborn. I require his presence in the hall." This would then lead to the Dragonborn receiving a note from a courier detailing that he is being summoned by Ulfric Stormcloak in Windhelm. The Dragonborn then heads to the hall and speaks to Ulfric. "It looks like our victory over the Empire has caught the attention of their masters. The Thalmor are now looking to make their move in the city. It appears they are hoping our war with their puppets would weaken us, and I will admit, we suffered losses in this fight, and the Thalmor are looking to take advantage of it. We need to prepare our defenses and hold our ground against the attack. Meanwhile, if you could gather allies for this war, it would help bolster our numbers. Go with the strength of all Skyrim and your shield siblings." Now this would be the part of the story where the Dragonborn would start gathering allies, which would be members of factions that the Dragonborn have claimed leadership over. Now this could be determined on where the Dragonborn stands in terms of the progressions of the storyline. If they were just starting out, then they would probably get 1 ally for each, but if they manage to complete the storyline and become leader or in a high position of such factions, they could get up to 3 allies per faction. That will play a minor role in the gameplay aspect of the story, but not necessarily change the overall outcome of the plot. However, for the purposes of the story, there will be one faction I will be omitting, and that is the Dark Brotherhood. And you will see why later on. So depending on how many allies you manage to recruit for the cause, which is dependent on your progression of course, then the process of the quests will differ, but the overall result will be the same. After gathering allies for the war, Ulfric and Galmar lay out plans for how to defend against the Thalmor. Unfortunately, before the two can include the Dragonborn in on their plans, reports are told of a massive army of elven warriors and mages marching to Windhelm. In this storyline, the Thalmor will not wait. They will strike the Stormcloaks as they are just fresh off of their battle with the Imperials, and are looking to squash this rebellion before it even begins. They are going all in on the heart of the rebellion, the city of Windhelm and Jarl Ulfric himself. So without any delay, the armies of Ulfric and his allies fortify the city of Windhelm and prepare for battle. When the Thalmor arrive at the gates of Windhelm, they do not immediately attack, but they do outnumber the Stormcloaks 4-1. A messenger arrives at the gate and demands Ulfric Stormcloak in exchange for the Thalmor leaving the city. Ulfric, of course, turns the messenger away and the Thalmor begin their attack. Despite the numbers disadvantage, the Stormcloaks do have a major positional advantage, with their high walls and the entry point being a single bridge, making it difficult for the Thalmor to breach the gate of the mighty city. While the Thalmor suffers initial losses in the assault, they unveil their plan. Dozens of Thalmor agents pour out of the Grey Quarters and begin attacking the Stormcloaks from within, leaving some attention off of the gate, allowing the Thalmor to advance. It appears the elves within the Grey Quarters have housed the agents disguising as residents of the city with a desire to see Ulfric to be removed from power in Skyrim. With this change of the tide, the Thalmor soldiers breach the gate and the fighting has spilled to the streets of Windhelm, where many Stormcloaks and Thalmor agents die in the fighting. Despite the iron will of the Nords, unfortunately, due to the overwhelming numbers of the Thalmor, the Stormcloaks are routed and a final perimeter is held at the Jarl's Hall, where Ulfric plans a tactical retreat. Of course, throughout the battle, it is similar to the Battle of Whiterun from the Civil War storyline in terms of gameplay. Only you will be defending, and after every time you can hold to a line in Windhelm, you are driven back due to hordes of elves pouring in. As a final retreat, Ulfric sends the remaining of his troops through a tunnel that leads behind the city. Unfortunately, the overwhelming forces of the Thalmor are making it difficult for this retreat to occur. My Jarl, I will take a group of soldiers and buy time for you and the Dragonborn to escape. You two are our last hope for a prosperous Skyrim. You must go, for the glory of Skyrim. And with that, Galmar and a small band of soldiers charge outside of the hall, and the screams of war intensify with the inclusion of the second in command. This intervention buys Ulfric, the Dragonborn, his allies, and a small group of soldiers safely outside of the city, where a band of scouts wait for them, and the group ride west. And I will pause the story here. I have a lot more planned for this, but I will only release the next part if you guys leave a like on this video, so I know you want to hear the story further. I have left some room open and for discussion on what could happen after the Stormcloaks win, and I can see this being expanded into a bigger story, which I wouldn't be surprised if we finish before the Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. As always, if you guys enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more content. Until the next video, this is Enzo signing out, and I will see you all again soon. The city of Windhelm has fallen to the Thalmor. The once rising rule of Ulfric Stormcloak has suddenly hit a massive obstacle, and along with the Dragonborn, both are now wanted in the lands of Skyrim by the Thalmor. Hello everyone, and today we will be continuing with the storyline on what happens after the Stormcloaks win the Civil War. Once again, just to remind you guys, this is a fan-made story, so it is not canon, but I hope you enjoy the story nonetheless. I've created a storyline for the Imperials as well, which was uploaded just a few days ago before this video, so give that one a look if you're curious what story I have made for the other outcome. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave it a like so I know to continue this story, and consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more content, and comment on if there are any other story prompts you would like to present so I could perhaps make a story from them. Other than that, let's begin. Windhelm is lost. Ulfric, the Dragonborn, and a small detachment of surviving Stormcloaks and allies, perhaps numbering to below 100, escape the clutches of Thalmor control, and have fled using a tunnel that leads to the back of the city's walls. With this retreat, Ulfric orders his Stormcloaks to return to their families as regular citizens, but be ready for the call if he requires their services again, until it is just him and the Dragonborn. The Thalmor attack. How are they able to infiltrate the city? Something to think about. For now, we will have to ride west towards Solitude and plan our next attack. If the Dragonborn is the Archmage of the College of Winterhold, an additional dialogue will be added to this conversation. Hold on, you are the Archmage of the College of Winterhold, are you not? Perhaps I could seek shelter in the city of Winterhold. It is a small enough town that the Thalmor will not dare attack such a place. This conversation merely changes the dialogue, but regardless, Ulfric concludes that they should reside in Winterhold for the time being. This change in locations would not change much of the grander story, but will allow Ulfric to roam the city more freely than he would if the Dragonborn was not yet the Archmage of the College of Winterhold, and this is because of Ancano, who is a Thalmor agent, and will have likely been alerted of Ulfric's retreat and possible presence in Winterhold, thus making Ulfric more cautious with his movements in Winterhold. Whether or not Ancano is still alive by the time this conversation occurs will be important in the storyline later on. But for the purposes of this story, the Dragonborn will become the Archmage of Winterhold, allowing Ulfric to reside there safely for the time being. We need to rebuild our strength, but we cannot do so as openly as we did when we were fighting the Imperials now that the elves have greatly increased their presence here. It would also be a good idea to fortify the city of Winterhold and restore its status as a great city once again. I trust that you, as the Archmage, no more accidents will occur here under your watch. This could provide an interesting opportunity to add a city builder-like element to the gameplay of Skyrim, where the player could rebuild Winterhold in the vision that they see. Although granted, with the mountainous area surrounding it, it will be a task that would require creativity on the player's part, but I am sure that it can happen. It would be similar to the expansion of the households introduced in Hearthfire, but on a grander scale. The Dragonborn is then free to roam Skyrim again and continue their adventures. Interestingly enough, when they enter the other cities, they will not be attacked by the Thalmor. It turns out that the Jarls of each of the holds, apart from Windhelm, still support Ulfric, as the Thalmor won't dare install Dominion-appointed Jarls in fear of rebellion from the Skyrim population and start another uprising. However, they are more limited in their freedom on how to rule. While the Dragonborn isn't attacked, there is slightly increased Thalmor presence in the holds, but not enough to raise fear in the population, but instead to keep an eye on movements from Ulfric and the Dragonborn. As long as the Dragonborn doesn't do any activities seen as an act of defiance in front of the Thalmor, then they are free to roam as if they are regular citizens. As part of an ongoing side quest, the Dragonborn can collect resources used to establish buildings, homes, shops, etc. into Winterhold, building the landscape surrounding the Jarl's Hall and the College of Winterhold. And this is how the player will progress through the storyline, based on how much progress they have done on rebuilding the city. The first milestone of the rebuilding process will result in a quest being triggered by Ulfric. Dragonborn, we need to establish communications with the other Jarls from each of the strongholds. Based on my knowledge, the Thalmor have not held an iron grip on the Jarls themselves, so you should have freedom to speak with them. Instead, they are sending field agents across the lands of Skyrim searching for me, so we can use this to our advantage. This would lead to a quest where the Dragonborn would visit the other holds in the province with the exception of Windhelm, which is under tight Thalmor control due to its status as a Stormcloak-based city. The next couple of milestones would simply be a combination of sabotage missions against the Thalmor, which would comprise of missions where the Dragonborn would infiltrate Thalmor camps, and embassies to sabotage military plans, as well as recruiting old Stormcloak soldiers and sending them to Winterhold to increase their security. This would continue until Winterhold becomes a fairly established city capable of defending itself, in which Ulfric Stormcloak would send a warning to the Dragonborn. We have progressed well in the rebuilding of Winterhold. Unfortunately, but unsurprisingly, this has caught the attention of the Thalmor, who are now sending an army of elves to attack us. They think they can defeat us after their victory at Windhelm, but the will of the Nords plus the snowy conditions around the city, as well as your efforts in sabotaging Thalmor plans, will give us a better advantage than we did in the last war. Come to me when you are ready to fight. I just want to make a note here that if Ancano was still alive and the Dragonborn was not yet the Archmage of the College of Winterhold, he would have fled Winterhold knowing its rise in power because of the eyes of Ulfric Stormcloak and would warn the Thalmor of this uprising, sending a slightly larger army than they would despite the Dragonborn sabotaging the military plans in previous missions. When the player confirms that they are ready to fight, a short cutscene will occur showing Stormcloaks preparing the wall and tower defenses, as well as arming themselves with weapons to prepare for the incoming battle. When the night comes, a war horn blows, and once again legions of elves march, coming in from the eastern roads of Winterhold. The previous missions of sabotaging Thalmor plans would have resulted in the elves having less troops and siege weapons available for the war. But while the recruitment of the Stormcloaks would have increased the numbers of the defenders, there would still be far fewer compared to their adversaries, so the numbers would still be around 4 to 1, but on a smaller scale. The walls of Winterhold, while not as strong as Windhelm's, are still able to hold against the invading Thalmor, who use a combination of combat and magic skills against the stamina, cold resistant, and sheer determination of the Nords, leading to a fairly even fight on both sides. Despite the College of Winterhold stationed there, the mages and students do not participate in the fight against the Thalmor, since they have no business in the war between the elves and the Stormcloaks, resulting in the disappointment but understanding sentiment from the Dragonborn, who is their Archmage, and instead lends support by healing weakened Stormcloak troops. As the battle progresses, the elves slowly press their advance using their sheer numbers, driving back the Dragonborn, Ulfric, and the Stormcloaks deeper into Winterhold. This battle is playing out similarly to the Battle of Windhelm, where the Stormcloaks are being driven back until eventually they are surrounded in the Jarl's Hall. This is it, huh? Is this where we fall in battle? It was quite the battle, Dragonborn. This would make for quite a song. However, just as the defenders of Winterhold rally for one more charge, another horn is sounded. But this one is different from the war horn of the elves, meaning these are not Thalmor reinforcements. In fact, another army charges from the front gate where the Thalmor invaded from. Men wearing padded iron and leather armor attack the Thalmor from behind, surrounding the elves in a pincer attack, giving the defenders the rally they needed, and forced the Thalmor to retreat. You win this time, Stormcloak, but this is only a fraction of our true force. Your days are numbered. When the defenders collect their dead and prepare to bury them, a hooded figure approaches Ulfric and the Dragonborn, revealing his hood and stating, "You have made this plan difficult for us, Ulfric Stormcloak." And once again, I am going to leave it there because you guys know that I love leaving cliffhangers as the final part of a story before we continue to part 3. So what that means is, if you guys want to see that part 3, please be sure to leave a like on part 2. I have released part 1 of the Imperial videos I stated earlier, so be sure to go check that out if you are interested to see what happens on the side of the Imperials. And of course, other than that, consider subscribing to the channel if you guys want to see more content such as this and other lore video from the Elder Scrolls universe. This is Enzo signing out, and I will see you all in the next lore video. The Battle of Winterhold concludes with a Pyrrhic victory for the Stormcloaks, after aid from an unexpected but unsurprising ally. With victory coming one step closer, Jarl Ulfric and the Stormcloaks can pretty much taste the winds of change coming to the lands of Skyrim. Hello everyone, it's been a while since I've uploaded on this channel, but I am back and ready to upload more stories and content for all of you to enjoy. I was revisiting old videos and coming up with new ideas, and I noticed we have unfinished business with these stories. So today, we will be on part 3 of the Stormcloaks winning the Civil War, followed by the Imperials winning the Civil War at a later date. Before I start, I would just like to announce that I am now streaming on Twitch 3 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 PM and 2 PM on Sundays. All times are in PST. You can check out the link below so you can check it out and we can hang out. To recap the events that happened up until this point, the Thalmor were left with no choice but to press their attack after the Stormcloak victory over the Imperials, not wanting to risk further inspiration for a future attack on the Thalmor. After a decisive victory over the weakened Stormcloaks in the Battle of Windhelm, not the battle that happens on the Imperial side, Ulfric the Dragonborn and a small band of Stormcloaks were forced to flee to the northern city of Winterhold, once a booming city that was the capital of Skyrim until the major disaster. The Stormcloaks would then rebuild their forces here, and even improve the quality of life of the city, growing in population and its overall economy. But these efforts would not go past the Thalmor undetected. Not wanting to risk any chances, they pressed their attack onto the city. While the Stormcloaks held their ground better this time, having a chance to rebuild their defenses around the natural mountainous terrain of the city and restoring their numbers, the sheer numbers of the Thalmor, along with the neutrality of the College of Winterhold, still led to the Thalmor gaining the upper hand, until an unexpected group of forces arrived and drove the Thalmor out of the city. "You have made this plan difficult for us, Ulfric Stormcloak. Wait, I know you." The hooded figure removes his disguise to reveal a rather old man wearing what looks to be light braided leather armor, but a glaring symbol of the Empire shines on the left chest piece. "I had heard of your efforts to liberate Skryim from the Thalmor, and I have decided to lend aid whatever I can. I don't need the help from someone who abandoned Skryim when you surrendered us to the Thalmor." Ulfric, looking visibly angry, draws his sword and prepares to strike at the Emperor, who does the complete opposite, sheathing his sword and kneels to the ground, almost welcoming the gesture. "I understand your frustrations, but I think you should hear me out before striking me. Welcome me to your hall in Winterhold, and let me tell you the full story before you decide whether or not to kill me. Regardless of your actions here, you will continue to fight for Skyrim's freedom against the elves, so I welcome it." Somewhat soothed by the Emperor's words, Ulfric retracts, allowing the Emperor and his band of reinforcements to enter Winterhold. "I suppose you want to know why I made the call to surrender the Empire after a very long-fought battle across the Imperial city. The reason is quite simple, really. We simply did not have the fire nor the manpower to continue this campaign after we reclaimed the Imperial city from the Thalmor. Our forces were spreading thin across the land, and we needed a time of respite before we were to fight back. So I decided to make the rather unpopular call of signing the Concordat, which gave the Dominion power. That I am aware of. I know you and the Stormcloaks, as well as the forces of High Rock, did not like this decision, and decided to rebel and continue your own fights. But I knew I needed to recover and bide my time before striking again. What I did not expect was your swift victory over the Imperials and one of my top generals, Tullius. Perhaps there is someone who can lead the fight against the Thalmor, and in reality, both the Stormcloaks and the Imperials should be fighting together, seeing as you were once in the ranks of the Empire. I will now lend my aid to you, along with the men and women in my ranks. Okay, old man. Well, I still do not believe your decision. I understand why you did it. But how do I know you won't turn your back on me during this campaign? And you being here, won't the Imperial City be compromised if they found out their precious little Emperor is here amongst us? There is no way for you to know for sure, so for now it will mean we will have to rely on trusting each other. If you cannot do that, then there are no means for us to work together. If by the end of this war you still harbor hatred towards me, then so be it. I will not try to convince you any further. But now, I ask that we work together for the time being. As for the status of the Imperial City, not to worry. Someone is taking my place as Emperor for the time being, and I will be operating mostly from the shadows. If you allow, Jarl Ulfric, my men would like to wear the armor of the Stormcloaks in order to maintain their cover while still fighting alongside you. What say you, Dragonborn? Do you believe his words? The Dragonborn, while having options to respond to this question, the dialogue would mostly go forward with the Emperor working along with Ulfric to free Skryim. So, this is the famous Dragonborn. I have heard of all your heroic deeds and tales throughout Tamriel. You may be part of why Ulfric has found the strength to fight on. Very well, I will aid you in any way that I can. And with that, the Emperor puts on his robes and leaves the hall. I hope we are doing the right thing. Stepping outside, the city of Winterhold is in full rebuild, but this time, troops from the Empire donned in Stormcloak armor help with the efforts of rebuilding the city, but Ulfric knows that the campaign doesn't end here. This only ends when the Thalmor are driven from the lands of Skyrim, but I fear an even wider battle awaits beyond this victory. After some more quests from the Dragonborn that are similar to the ones they undertook prior to the Battle of Winterhold, Ulfric finally summons the Dragonborn and the Emperor to the hall, where he reveals his grand plan. I have decided, in order to finally drive the Thalmor out of Skyrim for good, we have to strike the heart of Skryim, Solitude, as well as the nearby Thalmor embassy. I hope you realize that this is an open declaration of war against the Thalmor. War was declared when they invaded Windhelm. Now there is no turning back. You are not having second doubts now, are you? No, continue. Good, so it is decided. We will be launching an assault on Solitude. We will only target the Thalmor and any soldiers who fight for them. This siege does not stop until we take the throne of Solitude and claim the ownership of the entirety of our lands. Now, I did mention in part 1 that I would be omitting the Dark Brotherhood storyline for this, and that is because of how much of a role the Emperor plays in this storyline. Now, let's say the Dark Brotherhood storyline was completed and the Emperor was assassinated. While the story would have gone more or less the same, it would have likely just been a high-ranking general instead of the Emperor that would have lended their aid to the Dragonborn. But for now, we will proceed like this. With this, the Dragonborn then engages in quests that now require building up equipment for the siege. The quests range from raiding dungeons and camps for resources and specific materials that allow for the building of ballistas, battering rams, trebuchets, catapults, those kinds of things required to siege a city as well protected as Solitude. Including quests as well where you are rescuing soldiers and recruiting them for the cause. Once enough quests have been completed to declare the preparations to be complete, Ulfric marches with his forces, but notices a rather eerie atmosphere has developed the closer they get to the city. A scout then runs to the army, looking very tired and terrified. My Jarl, an evil has arisen in the city of Solitude. All of its people have been imprisoned or enthralled. A cloud of darkness has enveloped over the Blue Palace. Ulfric, concerned but not deterred, continues his march until his army reaches the front gates of the towers. They notice the walls are lined with a mixture of elven archers as well as Imperial soldiers. While it is tough to see from the distance, Ulfric notices a rather blank demeanor in their faces. And I think part 3 will end here. This one was a bit more focused with the interaction and eventual and likely temporary alliance between the Imperials and the Stormcloaks, who now face a much bigger threat than they had initially anticipated. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like if you want to see a part 4, If you have any thoughts on what you think will happen, let me know in the comment section below. I am curious to see what you come up with. If you want to see more content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when new videos get uploaded. Other than that, this is Enzo signing out, and I will see you all again soon. A chilling wind breezes through the army of the Stormcloaks as they gaze upon the gates of the city, realizing the walls are manned not just by elves, but the faces of their fellow Imperials, who do not seem to be aware of what is happening. The scariest image of this scene is not the army ready to fight, but this thick purple cloud that hovers over the city, seemingly hiding some sort of menacing device, almost as if it was alive and had a mind of its own. As the Stormcloaks prepare to advance, albeit with a bit of fear and discouragement, the main gate opens, and a lone rider comes out and meets the army. Hello, intruders, and welcome to New Solitude. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I was planning to make this fanfiction with only 3 parts, but I wanted to split this part off with part 3 because I wanted to make the interaction with the Emperor to be spotlighted in its own video. So good news, we are getting a part 4. Honestly, I could plan to add more parts to it for the sake of this because I really enjoyed writing this story. It was a lot of fun to make, and if you want to see more continuation of it, let me know by leaving a like on this video and comment on any thoughts you may have about it. Also consider subscribing to the channel if you are hungry for more content such as this, and turn the notification bell on so you know when the new video is posted. If you also want to come out, hang out, and have a fun time chilling and playing games, I will be streaming on the YouTube channel as well from time to time. You can ask me about any video ideas or your general thoughts on the videos and the channel overall. Other than that, let's begin with the Battle of Solitude. The Thalmor rider slowly approaches the army, seemingly unfazed by the number of Stormcloaks and allies that have come to their walls. He then looks directly at Ulfric himself, donning a thick fur robe covering heavy bear armor and a crown over his head. Ah, you must be Ulfric Stormcloak. Yes, I have heard of your campaign to conquer Skyrim from us. Do you not see above you? You are outmatched and outnumbered. What hope does your band of men have against an army of well-trained elven and imperial soldiers, and the magic of the cloud above our heads? I will make this simple for you. Leave, and do not return, and I may be able to convince my superiors to not go after you. Too late for that, elf. We have come to reclaim our lands. Go back to whichever land you and your kin came from. You do not belong here. Very well, you have been warned. The rider then returns to the city, and the gate closed. Sons and daughters of Skyrim, we have fought for too long and exhausted great effort to return the lands of Skyrim to its rightful owners. We will not let some fancy magic or a bunch of elves take over the lands that our forefathers have fought to maintain and keep. Now, brothers and sisters, to the city. With the raise of his sword and the sounds of horns blowing through the air, the Stormcloak army charges forward, meeting with a barrage after barrage of arrows that, while some fall, the shields of the Stormcloak prove to be too sturdy for the arrows to have strong effect on the army. Something is not right. As they march closer, they notice blasts of energy emerging from the cloud as it gets thicker, blocking the view of the city from their eyes. Fireballs immediately emerge from the clouds, burning more of the Stormcloak soldiers charging. Humanoid demonic warriors arm their swords and staves and countercharge the Stormcloaks. While the warriors are far fewer in number, their graceful movement and strong strikes deal massive blows, killing a number of the invaders. Daedra from Oblivion. They have opened the gate. Just as I sidetracked, the reason why I have given the Thalmor the ability to open an Oblivion gate comes from the story of the forgotten hero in the Elder Scrolls legend. To recap, the main story of that game revolves around uncovering and foiling a plot by the Thalmor to take over the Imperial city. It turns out that their plan was to open an Oblivion gate in order to destroy the city from within. Of course, this plan was stopped by the forgotten hero, but I thought it was an element that I would revive for this story. Despite the initial shock of the Daedra attacking the Stormcloaks, they were quickly able to bounce back and defeat the Scamps and the Dremora, and press their advantage. With their ram battering through the gate and arrows volleying to the walls, taking down some of the defending archers, but not many, Ulfric takes the Dragonborn aside and instructs a major task. Dragonborn, I need you to take down that Oblivion Gate once we get inside. I will create a perimeter around it while you shut it down. You are the only one capable of doing such a feat. With a nod and a hold on the shoulder, the gate is broken through and the Stormcloaks charge in. However, the scene is once again ominous. There are no soldiers on the streets of Solitude. And yet a massive Oblivion Gate is placed on where Rogvir was executed when the player first entered the city. Suddenly, the doors from the establishment burst open and waves of soldiers and Thalmor charge out to meet the Stormcloaks, engaging in battle. However, half of the Stormcloaks aren't trying to kill their opponents. They realize that the citizens of Solitude have turned into thralls and the Stormcloaks try to subdue them instead of outright killing them, as they are still citizens of Skyrim. Without any further delay, the Dragonborn heads right for the Oblivion Gate and enters the Plane of Oblivion. This part of the game would play out similar to the process of shutting down a gate in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, so I don't need to go through the talk of the process again. For those who have played the 4th Elder Scrolls game, there are plenty of opportunities to do that. The Dragonborn still fights through waves of Dremora and scams to make their way atop the highest tower and capture the Sigil Stone, which would effectively shut down the gate. When the gate is destroyed, the Dragonborn returns to the city, where the battle still rages, but with the destruction of the gate, the momentum has gone to the side of the Stormcloaks, and they push further into Solitude. After taking the main square and the Merchant Street, they push their advance towards into Castle Dower and the residential areas, where they are met with smaller resistance, for without the help of the Dremora from the gate, the Thalmor are outnumbered, and the influence over the citizens of Solitude are waning. Some of them are even regaining their senses. Despite gaining huge momentum, the Stormcloaks meet major resistance in front of the Blue Palace, where a line of mages meet them in battle. Now facing a plethora of magic attacks ranging from magic missiles to protective spells, and even necromancy, summoning legions of Atronachs, familiars, and even lesser Dremora against the charging Stormcloaks. While the mages hold up their own in the initial onslaught, felling many Stormcloaks and soldiers, their momentum and willpower prevent them from running away, as it is not in the pride of a Stormcloak to do so, and their stamina, endurance, and sheer force push back the mages and they fall in battle. Victory is in our grasp. With pretty much the entire city, except for the palace liberated, the Stormcloaks prepare for one last assault in the Blue Palace, which they notice is where the cloud is most dense. They do not know what awaits inside. If it is something worse than an Oblivion Gate, they may be in trouble. The doors to the palace are easily bashed through and the Stormcloaks charge in. Just like entering the gates to the city, the halls are eerily quiet. The soldiers this time face the doors, waiting for an attack from the rooms once again. But this time, a voice fills the air. So, you have made it to my home. Come, Ulfric Stormcloak and the Dragonborn. Face me in the Queen's Hall. If anyone else attempts to join you, they will die. Without much of a choice, Ulfric and the Dragonborn make their way to the second floor, where a hooded figure sits on the throne of Solitude. It is not the High King's widow. It is finally nice to come face to face with the ones who have caused me the most trouble in these last few months. I had worked very hard to establish the status quo of Skyrim, even allowing your petty civil war to occur so you could have a taste of victory. But I hope you realize there is no victory against the Thalmor. Pity. Ulfric, you were once an asset to us, and I would continue to hope that we were able to maintain this mutually beneficial relationship between the two of us. But unfortunately, I have to end you here and now. The hooded figure then reveals herself to be Elenwen, the main Thalmor ambassador to Skyrim, and she prepares for battle against Ulfric and the Dragonborn. This battle wouldn't be too difficult considering it's 2-on-1, but the hazy cloud would provide her the ability to summon creatures to fight for her side. Essentially, the cloud is formed from an orb that augments the controller's magical abilities, plus allows them to summon creatures to fight for them. Even though Elenwen proves to be a formidable opponent, she ultimately loses to the duo of Ulfric and the Dragonborn, and is killed. there will be no escape from the Dominion. After the death of Elenwen and the presence of the Thalmor in Skyrim, the orb vanishes and the cloud is dispersed, and everyone who was under its influence were restored to their senses. Any Thalmor who survived the battle and did not flee are captured by the Stormcloaks and taken away. Ulfric, declaring victory, speaks with the Dragonborn. I thank you for your help. You have saved Skyrim from the rule of the Dominion, and its lands are free once again. While I may make a strong claim to become its High King, I still respect the moot, and when the time comes, I trust they will make the right decision. I believe you have other matters to attend to, so I release you from my service. You are free to do as you wish, Dragonborn. Good. We have more matters to attend to. I'm afraid this battle will soon be beyond the borders of the north. And that pretty much ends the Skyrim arc of this impending battle, and I think I will stop it here, since I mainly wanted to focus on what would happen in Skyrim after the Civil War. I'll be honest, I didn't think that we would reach an event like this when I first wrote this scenario, but I'm glad I turned it into a blown out story. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave it a like and share it with your friends who enjoy a little bit of storytelling and the Elder Scrolls universe. Also comment on what could happen after Ulfric won the Civil War in your imaginations. If you really want me to expand on this story, I would like to see this video reach 100 likes. A bit of an ambitious goal, but this will take a lot of planning and writing on my end. And of course, consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more content. I have other what if stories planned on the way, and check out my YouTube channel streams for one if you want to hang out. Other than that, this is Enzo signing out, and I will see you all in the next lore video.